everybody. Welcome to the Friday edition of Warrior Daily. Wrapping up this week with me is Rick Cummins, the head coach for the cross-country program here at Wayne State. Coach, it's been a while since we had you on Warrior Daily. A lot has happened over the last few months, including this past weekend with some special alumni who are running down in Houston. We'll get into that in just a little bit. But let's talk about your season and what your team was able to achieve. Some strong finishes at the GLIAC Championships and at the NCAA Regionals. And some of your seniors wrapped up some pretty nice careers.
Yeah, we did. We at GLIAC first, muddy, maybe not muddy, but a lot of water, a lot of soft conditions down at Ashland. Seemed to be a trend for our season. Wasn't a lot of fast times run this year. We had a lot of mud and rain and George Mason, Tommy Titan, and we finished it off there at GLIAC. Some high finishes for both our teams. We did well. Ashland got us in the guys' side by a couple of points there. Our women ran real well. But I'm very happy with this year's bunch, how we finished it off. Last couple of years maybe we didn't live quite up to the potential of the people on the team. But I think this year we ran pretty darn close to what we were capable of running.
Well, as I mentioned, some of your seniors were able to wrap up their careers, especially with all-region honors, which was nice. Jen Rock on the women's side, and two of your guys, Alex Townsend and Kevin DeBear, earning all-region honors as well.
Yeah, Jen, we only had Jen for 2 years. She was a transfer, and, Jen did a lot of learning last year. We tried to slow her down. So, she's the kind of kid that goes out there and runs hard all the time, and, we tried to beat it into her head that if she runs slow a couple days, that's going to allow the faster days to be a little bit faster. And Jen really, she great effort right through to the finish, and real solid production out of her this year. So again, I think she maybe would have liked to seen some faster times, just like everybody on our team and probably in the region for that matter. But she ended her career on a real solid high note to me. I mean, I'm real proud of how Jen went out. On the guys' side, all three of our seniors led us the whole way. Alex was solid as a junior last year. He was all region. He repeated that this year. It's not always easy to repeat, a little bit of pressure on you. Kevin DeBear and Travis didn't have the greatest regional meets as juniors. Travis Barzak, they both came back and finished off senior seasons real strong. So, we definitely are losing some real solid seniors there, and it happens to everybody every year. You got to replace them, but when you got guys producing, you'd like to keep them around for a couple extra years, but it doesn't work that way.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Well, I know, as we mentioned, you were a busy guy last week. One of our former runners, an All-American in his career here at Wayne State, Matt Feck, was running in the U.S. Marathon Olympic trials down in Houston. A great representative of this university and this area to compete down there. Did quite well for himself, and I know you and a lot of his former teammates were on hand to watch everything and lend some support.
Yeah, Matt's running is very important in Matt's life, as anybody who's been around him knows. Matt's not a runner. Matt's an athlete. He's a competitor. He's a very, very good runner. I don't mean that disrespectfully, and anybody that knows Matt knows what I'm talking about. He goes out there and just gives it his all every time. And when he finished up here, he wasn't really highly recruited. Not many people knew who he was coming out of high school. Wasn't really that good in junior college, and he came here. He just got with a group of guys. You're referring to Nick Allen, Joe Varellen, Chris Burns, Charlie Stambuli, and Mike Buslip were former teammates of his that went down and supported him, and not just this weekend. They've been supporting his running for the last 4 years. Getting out and training with him, and encouraging him, helping him out. Various things, and Matt's family's been very supportive. I know his mom and dad were down there. I mean, they were just so proud. It was just real nice to see Mark and Leslie have a good weekend. And when stuff like that happens, it's a reward for a lot of hard work. And Matt's had a goal since he graduated of making the trials, and the USATF lowered the standard. It was 222 to get in, and they've lowered it down to 219. And Matt's Matt knew going in he wasn't going to make the Olympic team or anything like that. He wanted to go there and run like a lot of guys, and that's a culmination. That's a big thing it's a big goal for a lot of distance runners, is to make it to that meet and do your best there. And we knew Matt wasn't going to drop out. If he had a stress fracture in December, he's been nursing. So we had a pretty good idea that he wasn't going to go there and run faster than he has before. And Houston's got a lot of concrete, and it takes its toll on you. Course is a little flatter, which is not Matt's forte. I mean, Matt, he gets out there, and rolling hills serves him a lot better. I mean, if there's climbing and dropping, Matt does a lot better comparatively against some typical flat track guys. But just a great weekend, and Matt just smiling ear to ear and just finishing off. Well, I don't like to say finishing off, because I know Matt's got some, he's trying to figure out what his next goals are, and he's talking about the 2016 trials before he runs the 2012 trials, and so everybody's just trying to, hey, let's get this weekend over with and then worry about what's next. So I never like to say that a career's over, but that was, that's rewarding for everybody. Anybody that's been around Matt, from I know Mike Chan and Steve Domzalski have been very supportive and helped him out with training room and ice bath, and he's Matt's a special duck that you get around him, and he's got a hard work ethic, and that's why we try to keep him around the program. That's contagious. And one of the current guys, Phil Baldick, flew down there just to on his own dime. He bought his ticket, and I'm just going to support one of the coaches doing a good thing. So it was really good to see. In the marathon, Joe and Chris, Joe Varellen, Chris Burns, and Jenny Culbertson ran the full marathon, and then Mike Buslip ran the half marathon. Alums of the program were down there supporting Matt, and Joe and Burns finished. Let's say Burns, he gave blood a week prior, and that probably took its toll on him, and I don't think Joe was the happiest guy when he crossed the finish line. But Mike ran pretty well, and I know Jenny Culbertson ran a personal best for her too. So it was a real good weekend for Wayne State down in Houston.
Yeah, without a doubt. Just awesome accomplishments all around, and great for your program. You mentioned Joe Varellen's name a couple of times, and he, of course, will be inducted into the Wayne State Hall of Fame next month. Just your thoughts on that achievement for Joe.
Oh, it's great. I know Joe's been smiling ear to ear since he got the news, and I actually knew before he did, and coincidentally he called me right at the time the Wayne State person was going to call him, and I thought he knew, and I had to keep a tight lip, and so I hung up and I said, man, I'm thinking if he knew, he didn't say anything. I was a little bummed out, that it didn't mean more to him. And then an hour later he calls me, just bouncing off the off the walls. He was just, and Joe deserves it. I mean, Joe and Nick Allen were the pillars. I mean, those guys led this program from, we were nothing, in the 90s and in the late 80s. This program was dormant, and those guys came on board, and a whole bunch of other folks. I mean, not to discredit anybody else, but Joe and Nick were the two most talented guys. And sometimes Nick knows this. Joe on any other team would be looked at as one of the best runners ever, and most of Joe's losses were to Nick, nobody else. And the guy was an All-American. He was first team All-Conference. And the thing I've missed most about Joe, Joe's like a coach in the race. Joe is one of the very few guys that commanded groups of his teammates during a race and knew exactly when to push the envelope, when to drag the group forward, when to slow down the pace for the group. And he didn't learn that, he learned that over time. But that's quality. A lot of times guys like Nick don't ever get to demonstrate that because they're off the front. Nick's running by himself. But a guy like Joe, he'd take that second group, and I'm convinced without Joe, we would have never won a GLIAC title. We might not have gone to as many NCAA titles if we had he not kind of taught those guys, those really good runners, how to finish high in big meets. And Joe's having a great success as a high school coach. I don't know if some people don't know he's coaching out at Lakeland, and I think they were 4th or 5th in the state this year, and he had the individual state champ. So Joe's one of our, Mike and Charlie, we've got a few alums out there coaching, and he's just really given a lot back to the sport, and it's great to see.
Some good vibes in the cross-country program right now here at Wayne State. Coach, we appreciate the time, and we'll talk again down the road.
All right, good deal. Thanks, Tom. Appreciate it.
That's Coach Rick Cummins here on this Friday edition of Warrior Daily.